Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to find an angle to the race that might lead us into the winner. Well, a mixed meeting on Sunday at Sha Tin, and the first race we're going to take a look at is race 2, where our winning factor is the last start winner. So this is class 4, 1200 metres, and there are two last start winners here, Jubilant winner, who resumed with a win this season, and All's Well, who finished last season with a big finishing victory over this same course and distance. And no doubt, I think there'll be fans for incredible moments, Bowser having his first start with Tony Cruz, and the very lightly weighted circuit victory can improve. But for me, the main focus here is going to be on those two last start winners, All's Well and Jubilant winner. Now, regulars on the show will note that I do spend a fair bit of time talking about where horses finished last start and the significance of that. And statistically speaking, it is important. I know a lot of punters, the first place they go looking for the winner today is whoever won yesterday. And as I'm going to show you in a moment, that is probably the right track to be on. Of all the graphs that I show you throughout the year, this is probably my favourite, if it's not too weird to have a favourite graph. So let's have a look at it. And this is the performance of last start horses over the last 10 years in Hong Kong. There's more than 8,000 races. And we're looking at where the winners of each race finished at their previous start. And what a magnificent, smooth, reliable graph this is. As you can see here, horses that won last start winners, won at a higher percentage next time than last start seconds. They in turn won more often next time than last start thirds, and so on right down the line. A strong last start finish is a very good guide statistically to a good finish this time. And you can choose any sample seasons randomly and this graph will hold up. So how did our last start winners, All's Well and Jubilant winner, get here? Well, let's have a look at their replays, and we're going to go back to last season, and this is race 830, barrier 10 here, purple colours, yellow cap. All's Well, he begins well, but he has yet to show any early speed in his races, and that's the same here, wherever he draws. And he drifts back. The pace is good up front without being particularly fast. But you see on the heat map, the leaders really don't get home here down the straight. And after a smooth run in the race, All's Well comes out, turns up at the right time to take advantage of the weakening leaders and scores convincingly. So that was just his fourth race start, All's Well, and he looks a horse with more wins in store. The owners of Jubilant winner, however, had to wait 11 starts for his first victory, but when it came, first up this season, it came with a bit of style. So this is race 26 this season, gate 7, pink and white colours, yellow cap, and Jubilant winner is sharply out of the gates here in Blinker's first time for Andrea Azzeni, and again, the early speed is sound enough, but the heat map shows that it kicks up big time in the middle stages. And Jubilant winner is loving that. He's 3 or 4 lengths off the front and really suited by the way this race pans out. In fact, I'd say it probably does flatter his finish when they straighten for home. The leaders are already coming back to him, but in any case, he puts them away with authority and he comes clear on the line. So, although I don't think we're looking at any superstars here, there's certainly horses that have won with authority. We've seen that statistically speaking, having a last start win is a good pointer to a next start win. So how do we separate these two horses? Well, perhaps the map is one way. And when we look at the map for Sunday's race, there is an interesting runner here drawn towards the inside, Snowthorn, who has shown speed in his races until Wednesday night at Happy Valley, when he was ridden back last from a wide draw, but didn't do a lot there. So perhaps we'll see him return to using his good natural pace. Savvy Twinkle also has pace. Out wider with Blinker's first time, Incredible Moment will likely be pressing across as he did last time. And there are others with bits and pieces of pace. So I think the tempo will be true and suitable again for Jubilant winner, who looks to get a nice enough run working up behind the faster horses along the inside so he can finish off well again. All's well? Well, he's also suited by the setup, but he's, as I mentioned earlier, he has never shown much tactical speed, so he looks a pair or even two behind Jubilant Winner in running. So that looks a possible advantage on the map there for Jubilant Winner, and of course he has a more recent race than his rival, but we can also perhaps compare them by the trainers. Now, of the two trainers, who's the most likely to get that sort of effort from his horse again? And when we look at these statistics with this, the edge is definitely with Jamie Richards, Jubilant Winner's trainer, over Dennis Yip, trainer of All's Well. Since Richards arrived in Hong Kong a few seasons ago, I guess he might not yet have made the heights that many expected of him, but he has been consistently one of the better performers with last start winners. As you can see here, a high strike rate, slightly ahead of market expectations and clearly ahead of Yip in both areas. So the tip from me in race 2, Jubilant Winner. His winning factor, the last start winner. Now we've seen that last start winners have a strong chance if they reproduce their last start performance, and statistically speaking, I think we can safely say that Jubilant Winner seems more the likely of this pair to do that. The other race I want to look at for Sunday is race 5, and our winning factor here, the do-over. So this is also class 4 1200 metres and quite an interesting contest. There are a few chances in this one, including Von Bear, likely leader Bunta Baby, Zach Purton's mount Old Town, Lucky McQueen can improve, but I'm mostly focused on what you might call the odd couple. A 6-year-old maiden Good Fortune, an Elegant Life, who has yet to run a place in 14 starts. Now, Good Fortune is something that even I haven't seen before in Hong Kong, a 6-year-old who had his first start this season. Now, he had been here for 3 years since his import from overseas, and it's probably a free tip that despite all the health issues that he had, connections have persisted with him for this long. Clearly, they thought he had plenty of ability if they could get him healthy. And he's really backed that idea up in his 2 starts this season. Now, his most recent was in the race won by Jubilant Winner, which we've just seen a few moments ago. I'll leave you to go and have a look at that, but he was a pretty good run there after being wide. We're going to go back to his debut run on September 7, where he was also caught off the track. And this is race 6, gate 10, red and white colours, and Good Fortune jumps well enough, but has quite a bit of pace pushing up underneath him, so his rider Jimmy Orman looks to find a spot behind him. It doesn't happen. This is, in the end, a horrible race shape for him. Not a lot of pace in the race early, so the field didn't open up, and then the speed increases as the race goes along, making it even difficult for him to work forward and try and find a slot. He never does get a slot. He's out on a limb all the way, but sticks to his guns very bravely and finishes 4th in a photo with 2nd and 3rd. So worth noting that the other 2 horses in that photo for 2nd and 3rd with Good Fortune came out and won their next starts, so that certainly looks like strong form. Now, Elegant Life, as I said, he hasn't run a place in 14 starts, and there was a lot of money for him at his first start for a new trainer, Casper Found's last start. He only finished 6th, but we're going to see that probably should have turned out differently. This is race 39, he's in gate 2 in aqua colours, and Elegant Life, one of the best to begin, but jockey Lyle Hewitson doesn't want to lead. He lets a few others go and takes a soft sit behind what is, in the end, just an average sort of pace, and his horse even looks a touch fresh in the run. When they get to the home stretch, Elegant Life, he looks full of energy here, but the gaps just won't come between the leaders. Hewitson does think about coming to the outside, but those gaps are closing, and he's really stuck with nowhere to go. He just has to hope a miracle occurs. It doesn't, and he never really gets a clear run. So Elegant Life should have finished much closer there than 4 lengths away. I guess you could argue that when he did have a little bit of room, maybe the last 20 or 30 metres, he could have done a bit more. But the race was all over at that stage, and he had raced a little bit fresh during the race, so maybe he was peaking in fitness as they got down to the line. But in any case, we didn't see what he was able to give, and now he's had that race, he should be fitter. And I think that the money that came from that day, well, they might get another chance to back him this time. When we look at the map, it certainly looks a sound tempo again. Likely leader, Bunter Baby, drawn gate 10, and he's going to have to run along if he's going to clear what speed there is underneath him. After gate 10 in 2 starts so far, Good Fortune finds himself in gate 2 now, and with blinkers going on, so I expect he's going to be prominent. And Elegant Life and Old Town, I think they'll be somewhere there following the speed as well. But the tip from me in race 5, Elegant Life. His winning factor, the do-over. Now, although his record doesn't read brilliantly on paper, Elegant Life has run some good races in much better class races than this, and I think there was good reason for the money to come for him at his first start for a new stable last time. He didn't get to live up to that support, but he gets a very similar setup this time and might be his chance to break through. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Good luck on Sunday. We'll see you next time.